Alright, let's start putting together an engine. Now, the engine's going to be relatively simple, but we still want it to look nice. So let's start off with a polygon cube, and I'll get my move tool, and we'll pull it back here into the middle of our engine compartment. And let's see, let's make it flat. And then let's make it skinny. I think that'll do. And, oh, by the way, here's a picture of the engine, if you want to know kind of what we're putting together. Now, I'm going to scale this guy out, and we'll slide him forward a bit. Kind of like so, because it does look like it pretty much goes right up here to the back wall, pretty much. And we're going to grab this face back here at the back. I'm going to extrude it like so. Then I'll grab either face here on each side, and let's extrude those. So there you go, something kind of like that. Now that wasn't too hard. Let's create another cube. And we'll just snap it over here just to get it close to where we need to work. Now what I just built was this little bar that goes right in here. And don't worry, we're going to be beveling it out to kind of round some areas out on it. But first, let me do a few adjustments here on this piece, because this is actually going to be one of these guys here that's got the little Lamborghini logo on it and is all slanted and cool looking. So we'll start off by scaling this in, shrink it down, stretch it out, you know, the usual. And get this pretty much lined right up into that opening. If there's a little bit of a gap, that'll be okay. And we'll squash it down, or slide it down a little bit. Let's grab faces on it, and we'll slide this face forward, just to get the size right the way we need it. Now I'm going to grab this face, and we're going to extrude it. I'll pull this up, switch over to edges, grab this edge, and slide over, like so. Let's do a little bit of beveling on this guy. We'll grab, so let me start with these pieces here. And we're going to bevel these, and let me bleed the offset back just a little bit, and I'll add a couple of segments, something kind of like that, get that nice and round. Then let's grab the other edges. I'll go ahead and walk all the way around here. And because we're not going to be smoothing this, you can probably go ahead and just get rid of these little cross edges that were created as part of the bevel. When we're done, there's not going to be any need to smooth this. That's how good it's going to look. Alright, and we'll grab these guys all around through here. And we'll bevel these. And we'll pull the offset back a little bit and add a couple of segments. And there we go. Now, if you're having any normal issues across the top of this object, you can flatten your normals. You could also, like for example, we could grab our split edge ring tool and put a split, I guess, right across the back over here, and that should have gone all the way down, but even if it didn't, that's okay. And then you could put another one in over here, and then grab your split polygon tool. Gotta go to object mode, and oh, come on now. That was my fault. And let's see, let's split these right across through here. And basically what that does is that quads a lot of this up so that the normals don't get quite so knocked out of whack. So it's just an option. You don't necessarily have to do it. I'm not really going to leave it that way because I'm not too worried about it. I just thought I'd bring it up in case anybody was curious. You can do similar things here, just kind of split across and make some quads. So back over here. Now what I'm going to do on this side is we're going to go ahead and bevel out some of these edges. I think maybe this edge was brought in a little bit far. Let's pull that back. I'm going to squash both these down a little bit, so something a little more like that. Now we're going to grab all of these edges, and we're going to do some major beveling. Bevel that in. Looks like I forgot this guy. Let's make sure I grab him. There we go. I'll pull back that offset a little bit. I think I'll add one segment to this, so it looks all nice and fancy. And there's what we end up with. So not too bad. Now what I'm going to do is grab my split edge ring tool. I'm going to put a split right down here to kind of section off this area. Reason being is that if we look, there's sort of this nice, I don't know, ceramic-looking cap that covers this up. Now, even though you can kind of see that that cap doesn't exist up here because these two are kind of like reversed of one another, we're going to assume that there is a cap up there when we put this together. So let's see here. Now, I want to divide this up so I can have 4 raised areas and 4 gaps. Actually, it's probably 3 gaps. So there's a raised area. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Relatively evenly spaced. If I get a little bit off, that's okay. Now, as I zoom out here beyond the extent of what we can see, I'm also going to make 2 little separating edges in through here. Now, if you're confused, don't worry. Some of us spend our entire lives that way. What I'm going to do is grab these 3 edges all the way across. So boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I think that's right. We'll go with it anyway. So I want 4 of these edges. Now the ones on the top and bottom, I'm going to complete all the way across. The ones in the middle, I'm going to leave that gap right there in the center. Let's go ahead and extrude these. We'll pull them up just a little bit. Hit G, we'll pull them up just a little bit further, and we'll offset them just a tiny bit, maybe like 0.005. Just a little bit of offset so they can catch a highlight, almost like a homemade bevel. So there we go. Now I'm going to grab all of the faces here on this side all together as one, and we'll extrude these, and I'll just pop these out a little bit to add some thickness. When we're done, we can probably push the whole thing that way just a tad. So it creates that little cap there on the end. And there we go. Now, in a bit, we can put the Lamborghini logo in here. If you guys want to go ahead and do it now, go ahead. It's just import. You've already got the file that'll do it. I'm not going to stress about it, just for the sake that it's such an easy thing. We've already done it twice, so you guys already know about it. Now, we have those cool little fan boxes here. And what these do is these capture air that come in from the from the air vents here along the side that goes into this air box and is sucked right into the engine through here. So we have 4 of these. We can make 1, and that'll be good enough for everybody. We'll start off with a polygon cube, and I'll snap it someplace over here where we're working. And let's tug it around a little bit. It needs to be scaled way down. Now these things are kind of long. They're longer than they look because most of the time when you see them at this elongated view, sort of foreshortening. So they're kind of small in this direction, but they've got a little more length that way. So I'll tug around here on the box for just a little bit. I guess something looks kind of like this. Now it needs to be maybe a little taller, a little wider. I don't want to make it too small. Pull it down just a little bit. And maybe just a little wider than that. Okay, so I think that's going to work. Now, subdivisions are going to be very important. So let's take our subdivisions depth. I'm going to crank that up to 4. The reason I'm cranking it up to 4 is that I want to take the entire back end of this and delete it. More on that later. But before I delete it, there's other subdivisions too. I want to take subdivisions width. I fooled you all, didn't I? Take subdivisions width, we'll set it to 2. Subdivisions height, we'll set it to 2 as well. So things are looking all nice and subdivided. Now with that, I can grab all of this back here. We'll delete it so that we can get the same thing on either side. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab each of these pieces. Now let me check my scaling real quick. Scale Y and scale X are very important to me. I want these to be set to the same thing. So let's set them to both 0.45. So this is nice and square in this direction. Which it doesn't necessarily have to be. It'll just make things a little easier on us. And we're going to grab these 4 faces, like so. Let's frame up on them so they look all nice and cute in the viewport. And we're going to scale these in with an extrusion. So notice, bring them in, uniform scaling, not too far, somewhere kind of like that. Then hit G, uniform scale again, and pull these into right about here. Now, what I'd like to do is take this area, this little ring that you see here, and turn it into a circle. To make it into a circular shape, all of these edges, being this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, all around the inside here, these all need to be the same length. So what I'm going to do to create that is I'm going to grab our EP curve tool. Let me also go ahead and show NURBS curves, and let me go ahead and go to shading, and we'll turn on wireframe on shaded. So now I'm going to rotate upward just a little bit, and we'll point snap, and press enter. One guide curve. Get your move tool, press insert, point snap right here to the center of the box. So now we can get our rotate out, and it looks like we're rotating around Z. So we'll set this to 45 degrees, and you'll notice we rotate up like so. Now how cool is this? We can grab this vertex, and we can curve snap inward if we just get right on the curve. So if you're snapping, remember to change your camera, because I'm clearly snapping to something way out in the distance. I should be hiding all of that. That's partially my bad. And now we'll snap this guy. Actually, if I go to wireframe, it'd probably be a lot easier. So there we go. That first part's done. We take our curve and set its rotation to -45, and it comes down here. Excellent. Let's go back and grab vertices again, and we'll curve snap like so, and we'll curve snap like so. Let's go back and get our curve again, and we'll start with 135, which flips us over to the other side. Grab vertex, curve snap, boom, vertex, curve snap, boom. Well, wrong curve, really. Let's pull it over here, and then there you go. All right, it takes care of that, and control, click out, and -135. Oh, yeah. And let's go ahead and grab vertices. We'll curve snap here, grab this vertex, pull it out of whack, then curve snap it there. And there we are, one nice, I guess that would be an octagonal circle. Very easy to create. Now, why did I do that? Well, you can see here if you take a really close look. We've got sort of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-sided fan opening area here. And we're going to mimic that. We're going to recreate that, if you will. To recreate it, we're going to do a trick. I love this. Check this out. We're going to grab you, all these guys in a ring. And then all of these edges that stretch out to that ring. Oops, I'm sorry, I got somebody I didn't mean to. Double check, make sure you didn't get anybody who's floating back behind or anything crazy like that. And once you have all of these, we're going to bevel. How awesome is that? Now, you'll notice that on the horizontal and vertical edges, you got these little cross pieces and whatnot. Don't stress about that. It's really not a major concern. If you want, actually, you can probably get rid of these altogether. We don't really need them. Now what I'm going to do is grab all of these faces. You already see where this is going, don't you? I mean, how awesome is this? Alright, so some of you are rolling your eyes, but, you know, I think it's pretty cool. And we'll go all the way around here. Make sure I didn't select anybody out in the distance. Get my move tool out just to double check that. And let's extrude. We'll tug this out a little bit. Now let's grab this face here in the middle. We'll pull this out a little bit further. And then I'll hit G, and we'll extrude that inward. G, go inward. Actually, let's turn that into a little tiny bevel edge. Oh, something kind of like that. Looking good. And now, if you just really want to get fancy and impress all your friends and neighbors, we know that's why most of you are in 3D in the first place. I call the neighbors over all the time. I'm like here. Check out the mad skills I got. Of course, they don't really know what they're looking at, because I'm showing them like a Mel script or something, but, you know, that's not important. The importance here is that you stroke your ego. Or something. Alright, and let's see, let's move around. Guys, I know I'm not funny. I'm not really trying to be funny. I'm just filling in dead air so you guys don't fall asleep while I'm selecting a bunch of edges. And... dun 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 dun. Whoops. I'm going to grab all of these edges too. It's like this one time at Maya Boot Camp. Alright, so now I've got all these other edges too that I don't need, so I'll just control drag out those. I go to wireframe, make sure I didn't get anybody I didn't mean to, and then we can, whoops, you know what? I missed an entire ring of edges. Ha! You guys only thought we were ready to bevel. How wrong and misguided you were. I was testing you. I was testing all of you. Okay, now here we go. That looks good. Let's bevel all of these, and I'll bleed back that offset just a little bit. And we'll go back to object mode. I'll go ahead and go to shading, switch off wireframe on shaded, and whoo, there you go. Now, you can get even fancier here. You can grab these faces, like so. Now, if I hit Control and right mouse, and let's see, if I hit Grow Selection, that'll also send us out to the little bevel edges there too, which is a really neat trick. Remember that Control right mouse action. It's very cool. And we'll slide this in a little bit more, and I mean, that's just fancy, you know? That makes me happy. Okay, so relatively simple shape, but it's a nice representation of what's actually there. Let's do a couple more things. Let's grab these corner edges, like so, and we'll get these two, just for good measure. And let's bevel these. I think one level of beveling is more than enough in this case. And let's see, if I take a look back here at my picture, we've got sort of an area that this connects in, and it's got these three little jointy sort of guys coming across it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and mirror this over. So let me delete out its extensive history. And shift right mouse, mirror polygon. I think Z forward is the direction we're going. And there we go. Let's take our poly mirror, set a threshold down to something better. And before anybody asked me, you know, why can't you set the mirror threshold higher? I don't think they're quite often expecting to be mirroring something quite so small. For the most part, setting that low is not a problem, but we've been modeling pretty tiny stuff, all things considered. Like if I come in here and I show the grid again, this whole monstrosity of a car fits inside a 24 by 24 grid, so it's a pretty small piece of machinery. Okay. And that's in centimeters, too, by default, so it's very, very small. All right, anyway, so back to what I was talking about earlier. We're going to grab these vertices, and let's pull these down a little bit. And I'm going to grab my split edge ring tool, and we'll split each of these two areas right down the middle. I still wish that tool had snapping magnets. If anybody at Alias is listening, oh yeah, snapping magnets for that tool, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, let's grab that tool again, and check this out. If you split here, you're going to go all the way to the center of that. How cool is that? Which I don't really want to do, but you can. What I'm going to do instead, because I don't really want to split that far. It was cool, I just don't want to do it. We're going to use the split polygon tool. I will turn on magnets, and we only need really one magnet, so boom. And let's see, boom, 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 boom to there, and boom, 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 a boom, a boom to there. Looking good. Now, ooh, and hang on, strike that, just to be safe. I'm going to go all the way over to here. You'll see why in a second. All will become clear. So if you're confused, if you're scared, if you're worried, kick back, drink some herbal tea, and all will become brilliantly clear in just a moment. I'm going to grab these 3 edges, and let's bevel these. Check it out, striping action. And let's go switch to, what tool do we want to use? Let's grab faces. There's a lot of different ways to do what I'm about to do. Let's get all of these. And let's extrude. We'll pop these up a little bit. Now, that's not bad. That's not necessarily what I had in mind. If I switch this over to world and scale these under, they're going to start to curl up, which is more like what I wanted. So I think I'll go with that, because that's kind of cool. And then let's grab edges all the way around each of these pieces. Do-do-do-do-do. Like so. And like so. Dun, 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 dun. Whoops, not that one. Whoever thought selecting would be so much fun, huh? I'm telling you. I feel like I should have to put a quarter in just to do this. Okay, looking good. And we'll do a quick bevel. It's a small bevel, but that's really all I need. If you end up with any nastiness of normality up here, meaning your normal's got a little bit messed up, you can fix those just by flattening those out. Now, I can't flatten from that menu, so let me do this the long, difficult way. We'll go to normals, soft and harden, and we'll just all hard those. And there we go. So now all of that is very fancy. We could probably soften these guys up in here. I'll do this at the edge level. So let's just control, or actually shift, select all of these. Dun, 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 dun. Shift right mouse, soften harden edge. Let's go ahead and soften those. And I think that's going to do it, folks. There you go. Fancy schmancy. And now we can hook a tube into that and various other things. Let's go ahead and pull this a little bit more snugly up against the engine itself. And I'm going to go ahead and, for now, we'll end this video. Let me go ahead and go back to show and switch off my NURBS curves to get those out of the way. And we will pick back up on working on the engine here in the next video. Thanks a lot.